Great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Monday, June 1st, year of our Lord 20 and 26. I can't believe it's June already. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America. I can prove it because our administration is putting Americans first. Quite novel. It's also the place where the brave, like veterans, we will salute today, thanks to our man John Basiliga and his great Eastern roofing systems. Like Daniel Capwell, Taylor, Benjamin Kocher, Clark Summit, Eddie Johnston, Glenburn, Jack Donahue, Scranton, Dana Nelson, Scranton, and Robert Herman, Kingston. The United States of America, founded with the certain knowledge and understanding by our amazing, irreplaceable, and profoundly wise founding fathers who knew that government should not be, could not be, and wrote a constitution to make sure it cannot be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation, not any of these things. This is the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared by law to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press, whether it's used or abused. Now, because they were armed with these freedoms, and only because of that fact, a mere ragtag bunch of immigrants, many of them rejects from around the world, they and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who use government to control others for their own benefit, comfort, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And with that essential preamble delivered, we can gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our total, immersive, immovable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here for the balance of this singular, extraordinary morning. Well, great to be with you guys. You could reach us at 570-883-0098. I saved Friday's newspaper. It's a rag. They're awful. All that. I understand. But Friday's newspaper, at least the Scranton edition of the same. By the way, that the man speaking to Joe Rogan, and I don't know that I'm pronouncing the name right. It's like Pierre Poilievre. He is the conservative leader in Canada, which has gone bonkers between Trudeau and Carney, the current clown. But he's the voice of reason. And it's a question I ask. It stuck out to me because it's a question I ask all the time. I was talking to somebody about this over the weekend. Why? I looked around our neighborhood. Everybody had nice, solid houses. Nothing extraordinary. They weren't mansions. But one guy sold tires. One guy had a mid-level position at a bank. One guy worked at the RCA factory, a pharmacist. Didn't own a pharmacy. He was a pharmacist. A butcher. And then nice houses, raised the kids. Everybody's fine. Nobody's starved. Why can't that be anymore? So that's why that stuck out to me. In any event, getting back to cases here. Our governor, our phony, disgraceful governor, And by the way, the funny thing I see, they're taking pictures, okay, while the governor's having this sit down. All right. And there's Paige Cognetti, who's equivalent phony to Shapiro, smiling. They're talking about something very serious, data centers. And she's there. She's smiling, the only one in the picture smiling, because she knows they're taking the pictures. It's so phony. In any event, just like Paige, Shapiro, he was against Pennsylvania natural gas fracking and energy. Then he was for it when they had all the gang together, the Energy Summit by Dave McCormick, and he was all for data centers. Yeah, we're going to give him special tax breaks. We're going to do all of this. Now he realizes there's backlash against the data centers. He's now against the data centers. Or talking about reasonable restriction. Like, it's so phony, you can't make it up. It's just like when Geisinger was trying to expand up in the hill section near Naog. Paige Cognetti was all for it. Then she was against it. She prevented the zoning from being changed so they could expand before her election. Then after her election, she reversed course and was for the expansion. This is who the Democrats are giving you. Complete phonies. It's unbelievable. Shapiro's among the worst, but his little handmaiden and junior phony, Paige Cognetti, following the same pattern, the same routine. Disgraceful. Oh, unbelievable. Anyway, just want to remind you that our live stream, the show live streams, and you go to WILK News Radio, Bob Cordaro, and you will find me. That's not that you're looking, but you will find me doing my thing here, okay? And that's brought to you by our friends at Roach Supply. They're the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. Nonagenarian Ron Roach. He's still the honcho, and he's a veteran. And they're celebrating 75 years in business in large part because of him. But it's 3 generations doing an awesome job for bath and kitchen. And you can find them by going to Roach Supply, ROCHE, roachsupply.com today. Their sister company, Chapman Supply in Clark Summit. Look for them as well. Fascinating. In any event, all of you, it's great to be with you. I hope you had a good weekend. I did. Last night, yesterday afternoon, Cutie and I went with the Palucci's to up to Camelot and listened to some music. Our friend was there doing the music. Ran into my friend Daryl and his beautiful lady. Great time. Very nice. Beautiful weather. It was a good way to finish the Sunday. And then it'll come to me what we did Friday and Saturday. I know it involved a Terra. I had a lot of fun this weekend, a good weekend. I truly hope you did too, and that you're refreshed and ready to go. I know this. I am pleased as punch, as Hubert Humphrey used to say, to be hanging around with you guys again this Monday. Good to be with you. We'll take our break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. So much to deal with. We'll be back. Well, you heard the history moment, 1813. Mortally wounded commander of the USS Chesapeake, Captain James Lawrence, gives the order, don't give up the ship, in a losing battle with the British frigate HMS Shannon in the War of 1812. Don't give up the ship. And then this date, 1957, Murph tells us Sam Cooke recorded his debut single, You Send Me, at Radio Recorders Studios, Los Angeles, California. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. Fascinating just to watch these various Democrat candidates. And we see it right here up close with Paige Cognetti. We see it right here up close with Shapiro. The phoniness is insane. It's at weapons grade level. Like, it's just whatever. It's like they're playing the game. Remember the game Twister? And you get into all these convoluted positions. Really crazy. And I don't. And they'll just say anything. They're going to do the left-wing lunacy and cover it up and lie about it. There's not a hesitation to lie. That's part of the gig. And you got this Tallarico down in Texas, this Alfred E. Newman phony. You've got the Nazi up in Maine, Graham Plattner. It's really incredible. Tom from Dallas wants to know if I heard about that CIA guy with the gold bars. Yes. I don't know if that means, Tom thinks it means that it shows that there's relatively little clearance on who they appoint and put in power in the CIA. That's probably true. I mean, you see all these movies with the CIA, and you say, well, boy, they got a lot of latitude in how they operate. Well, this guy used it to personally enrich himself beyond the capacity. But I got to tell you, these Democrat candidates, it is revolting. Now, we've been hitting around over the weekend. I've expressed to you my frustration with our current policy. This negotiate, there's got to be something more behind it. Had a conversation with a new friend of we met last night, and I was like, I said, I really believe, I'm starting to believe we have run out of the weaponry or something that we need to finish this job. And I know there's an extreme reticence, and more than there should be, by the way, to put boots on the ground, as they say, to open up the strait. You've got to put troops there to take out pretty mobile emplacements that the Iranians have on their side of the Strait of Hormuz. You got to clear the area so that there are no weapons there. There are no drones. And you got to get it done. I really don't get, and I'm beyond my patience for not having opened the strait and continuing to talk to these evil clowns. I don't understand it. And I say this, and it may sound contradictory. It is not. At the same time, I'm willing to pay the higher gas prices that have been the cost to Americans of this Iranian incursion. Well, it's actually an American incursion. I am willing to do it. But I'm also getting impatient with the potential political implications. Because you're going to get people like Cognetti and Shapiro winning elections potentially because of high gas prices that were unnecessary if we just went and cleaned out the viper's nest. And by the way, this is not all Trump's fault. You got to question the military. Well, wait a minute. We've been taught, and I know this distinctly, and it's a different era and all this, but we've been talking about the Iranians being able, or at least having the threat of closing the Strait of Hormuz since the Reagan administration. In their portfolio of plans, and the Pentagon, if nothing else, plans everything. Why was this not implemented and suggested to the president? Like, Mr. President, we've got to go in because of their drone and ballistic missile capabilities. We've got to go and clean out huge areas of Iran for this strait to be open. Now, the other side of that is their ballistic missile capability, which, by the way, America partly paid for. China, because of the stupid, idiotic Biden administration, and by the way, and the Obama administration, their insanity of giving these evil psychopaths money and access to money. The Red Chinese also bought tons of their oil, which we could have stopped. It isn't an easy fix, and it would have been worse and gotten harder every month we waited. So I give Trump all the credit in the world. At the same time, I'm frustrated that we didn't have an all-out attack plan, which included opening the Strait of Hormuz. Somebody said, Bob, why is Trump not sending troops in to get nuclear material, which is the reason for starting the war? To me, it's not clear. The Strait of Hormuz is more pressing to me. The Iranians, while they're under siege, are not able to develop a nuclear weapon. So that's actually priority number 2. And much of this nuclear dust, as they call it, is buried from our first attack last year. So that's second priority. First priority, open the strait because the world economy is getting strangled, and it's giving encouragement to Iran. They're getting some oil out. They're getting it to China through our embargo or quarantine or whatever you want to call it. And that's, look, if those things are going to happen. And it's enough to sustain the evil people at the top of the pyramid in Iran. But we got to continue the quarantine. We've got to go and do what has to be done to open the straits, period. And I'm this fake negotiation, I don't get it. I truly don't. Yeah, somebody says, does Trump not understand he'll be impeached and probably jailed if we lose? Well, it's not that dire. He'll be impeached. They'll be wasting time. They'll be investigating. The most mentally ill of the Democrats will be in charge of Capitol Hill, and that's scary. But we just got to get it done. Get it done. You've got the assets there. They can't be held there indefinitely. Get it done, President Trump. We'll take this break. We'll be back. Veterans Tribute, the weather, and we're going to get a little sunshine from Tina Morocco as well. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute, this day as with every day, this hour as with every hour, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. And today, Mondays, we feature his first company, his biggest company, Eastern Roofing Systems, headquartered in Jessup. They're one of the largest, and they are the premier roofing contractor in the eastern United States and beyond. And they take all of that expertise, all of that buying power, and they bring it to you here in Northeast Pennsylvania for your commercial, industrial, institutional project, or your home. Yeah. You get the best. Eastern Roofing Systems. Daniel Capwell. We lost him May 17th at age 79. He was a resident of Taylor. His beloved wife of nearly 25 years was the late Barbara Kilvitis Capwell, who passed away back in 1990. Born in Scranton, and something in the water. Remember we drank out of, what were they called? I don't even know what they were called. The water we drank when you go to Scranton Tech back then. It had to be amazing water because he was raised in Scranton, Daniel Capwell, and a graduate of the great Scranton Technical High School. So many of them served. A United States Air Force veteran, Daniel honorably served his country for 4 years during the Vietnam War. He had attained the rank of Airman First Class. Prior to retirement, Daniel was employed for over 40 years by United Gilsonite Laboratories in Dunmore. For many years, he sat on the boards of the Taylor Little League and the Taylor Lions football. He had many enjoyments in life: fishing, hunting, feeding deer, woodworking. Loved spending time with his family. Tragically preceded in death by his son, Daniel, who passed away in 2016. Left to cherish his memory are his 2 children, their companions, 4 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, and sadly another great-grandson on the way. Daniel Capwell. Benjamin Kocher. Could be Coker. It's Kocher. Clark Summit. Simply known as Pa. He passed away at age 85, May 15th, in the home he built, surrounded by his family. Devoted husband, loving father, grandfather, truly kind and honorable man whose life was defined by his integrity, humor, and an unwavering love for his family. Born in Boulevard, New York, he was raised in Potter County, Pennsylvania. He learned his hard work and his work ethic there. Proudly served in the U.S. Army before returning to Pennsylvania, where he earned a Bachelor of Science from Millersville. Became an industrial arts teacher, Lackawanna Trail and West Scranton Intermediate. There he met the love of his life, Carol, who would forever be his pearl. A lifelong builder in every sense of the word. His red truck became a symbol of his tireless dedication, always carrying him to the next project, job, or helping hand needed. He brought endless joy, laughter, and unforgettable memories to his grandchildren. Ben will be remembered as a remarkable man with a generous heart, sharp sense of humor, and deep love for his family. He taught all of his family the importance and the meaning of being productive, doing the right thing, and being kind. 3 values they will strive to carry forward as part of his legacy. He's survived by his beloved wife, Carol, his pearl, 2 children, 5 grandchildren, and other family members. Ben Coker. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. AccuWeather forecast, brought to you by the great gang at Montage. You heard the little ad there. Get ready for summer fun. That is a great water park and a blast. Today, mostly sunny with a stray shower this afternoon. High 77. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 48. Tomorrow, pleasant with intervals of clouds and sunshine, 75 degrees, low 48. Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy, 82, low 53. Thursday, sunny to partly cloudy, very warm, high 88, low 57. Friday, sunny to partly cloudy and very warm, 87, low 60. And that is your weather. That's your AccuWeather, brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain. That sounds like water park weather to me. And she throws a hell of a party on top of all that. Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Premier Sotheby's International Realty, Naples, Florida. She is your trusted guide to Florida real estate, and she specializes in Southwest Florida. TinaMorocco.com, MURACCO, or just go Tina Morocco to any social media, and she be there. And you are quite a cookie baker. I was over there Saturday with Cutie, and you had a great gang. Dominic's family, her husband Dominic's 50th birthday, and it was really great.
Well, thanks for being there. We're glad that you could come, Bob. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely loved it. All right, so Tina, let's get to business. You sell real estate. What's on your mind today?
So today I want to talk about one of the most beautiful parts of Naples, and it's often called the Jewel of Naples, and that's Venetian Bay. So Venetian Bay is in Park Shore, and the village shops on Venetian Bay are absolutely incredible. It looks like Venice. Yeah, you drive over the bridges, and there's boats on either side. There's marinas on either side, and the bridges go over to the Gulf, and the water is absolutely sparkling. The dolphins, as you can imagine, are jumping. It's a magical place. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like Disney, but I mean, it is so beautiful there. Every time I'm there, I mean, it's like a showstopper. But waterfront restaurants there, I think there's 6 or 7 of them. There's a rooftop bar there that's absolutely stunning to have happy hour at, or even, lunch. And then there's about 40 shops and restaurants, and this is in the Park Shore neighborhood of Naples, so it's north of Fifth Avenue. Yeah, so not far, probably about 10 minutes north of Fifth Avenue. But then the real estate there, Park Shore is one of the only places in Naples where we have the high-rises. And those are big high-rises that overlook both the Gulf and the Bay. So, prices there can get pretty pricey. But I will say there's also some entry-level ones. And for Naples, this is, entry-level is $300,000. I was just looking today.
That's entry-level around here anymore. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's not a
Exactly.
staggering number these days, even though I blanch at that fact, but it's true.
That's true. I was looking at real estate over the weekend. Yeah, here in the Scranton area, and it's true. The prices have certainly gone up. But yeah, Park Shore, you can walk to, obviously walk to the beaches. You can walk to a couple restaurants in Park Shore. But like I said, the Village Shops in Venetian Bay, if you're in Naples, please do not miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like being in Italy. Just, watching the boats go around and, just having a drink on the waterfront is just, I mean, it's something really special there.
Mm, that sounds so cool.
Hmm.
I've not seen it. I've not seen it,
Hmm.
and I've been around
Next
Naples
time.
a few times. Next time, I definitely have to. Well,
Yeah, definitely.
look, at
Hmm.
I'm starting to take all your advice, so now I'll get to I'll get around.
They have
now,
a huge list.
now that I know you, but so the
Yeah. Hmm.
Park Shore, the Venetian. What's it called? The Venetian what?
It's Village Shops on Venetian Bay.
Okay.
Venetian Bay is the body of water in between. It's Doctor's Pass and Venetian Bay, or in between 41 and the Gulf. So there's just a little strip of, area there that have that Gulf front, or that bay front, and then you have the Gulf front.
Neat.
Yeah,
Well,
so it's in between if you're going from downtown Naples to Vanderbilt. Ooh.
okay. And your homemade cookies, if they're there, it'll be perfect.
Sounds good.
All right. Tina
All right, take care, bye.
Morocco. She is your trusted guide to Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com. We'll be back. Well, you just know why. How fun is that song? And great history. Andrew Jackson. Johnny Horton. Murph tells us this date, 1959. That was the number one hit with the Battle of New Orleans. By the way, my parents went to that with their friends, the Corleones, went to that Joe Nardone. And the reason I think of Joe Nardone is back in 1959, you had to go to Joe Nardone's Gallery of Sound and buy the record for it to be number one. And it had to be the one that sold the most records at record stores all around the country. So you really were committed. You didn't download it in 2 seconds or with a couple presses of your phone. You had to get in the car, get on the bus, walk to the Joe Nardone's Gallery of Sound and buy it. But he had the great show with the Neil Diamond tribute, Robert Neary, who we had on a couple of times last week, and they loved it, absolutely loved it. And all the time they have amazing. If Joe Nardone's putting the show on, it's going to be great. Period. I'm looking forward to the next one. Somebody texted in Johnny Horton. My father used to play that song all the time when we were kids back in the 70s. And how about this? I did not know this. Killed by a drunk driver, I believe, in a bridge in Texas. How about that? Johnny Horton. Our friend Dave Zankner used to sing some version of that during football practice in high school, so I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Oh, Lord. And just to remind you, this live stream, I'm wearing my Avalon T-shirt. See, Cutie washes things so quickly that I've got a choice of what I wear. I'm on the verge of getting into this, what certain people like Steve Jobs did. They had like a uniform almost. I guess they just didn't have, you have 4 or 5 of the same shirt and or 10 or whatever, and you just keep wearing it. So I had the Avalon on last week. I have it on again today because they turn around so quickly, and it's easier to pull from the clean clothes pile that I haven't put away yet than it is to go into the drawer. And so, in any event, that's where we are. Somebody texts in, Bob LTS, what about the big media event Paige Cognetti hosted on the WNEP News, raising the gay pride flag? I think that effort could have gone to more constructive issues to benefit Scranton taxpayers. She doesn't care about the Scranton taxpayers. She doesn't care about Scranton. She cares about her agenda, and she cares about the lunacy that, well, it's the same thing, the lunacy that she's pursuing and her ambitions. That's why when she was on the Scranton School Board, she left when all the tough decisions had to be made. She just bailed out, sought the appointment so she could build her political resume, and then as soon as they had to make tough decisions because of budget issues, she left. She's trying to leave Scranton because she's a disaster. And I mean, we're so lucky to have an incredible congressman, Rob Bresnahan. And she wants to bring her left-wing lunacy and be part of the squad and be commenting on all kinds of left-wing nonsense. I mean, I have no problem with the gay pride. Go, God love, fine. But you have the trans thing that has now superseded that. And it's like, well, no, you're not entitled because, and God bless you, you've got gender dysphoria, and that's virtually, well, almost all of the people who are transgender or become transgender, they've got gender dysphoria, understood. But that doesn't give you privileges. It's something that has to be dealt with compassion by the rest of us. But it isn't something that gives you privilege. Like to play as a man or a boy in girls' and women's sports. It's not a privilege. It's a burden that we've got to help you deal with as a society. Nothing more. And that's why we're so confused with these idiots on the left and the Democrat Party. Truly are. All right. My Picardo Jewelers watch. And I ran into, I was talking to my neighbor, my next door neighbor, and he goes, he asked me, he goes, what's the Picardo Jewelers time right now? And I get that a lot, by the way, because they are the premier watch store in Pennsylvania, period. Raymond Weil, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Ball Watches, Tory Burch, Victorinox, Bulova, G-Shock, and of course my very own brand, their brand, the Picardo Jewelers watch. And it tells me it's 10:02, which means it's high time we go to the news with Brian Hughes. We'll do that. We'll come back, and it's Monday. So I think John Perillo is going to be with us. We'll see. Great good morning, everyone. It is 10:11 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Monday, June 1st. Can you believe it? The year of our Lord, 20 and 26, here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his Great Eastern Roofing Systems, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year but celebrate today, like Ben Kocher, Clark Summit, Daniel Capwell, Taylor, Jack Donahue, Scranton, Eddie Johnston, Glenburn, Dana Nelson, Scranton, and Robert Herman, Kingston. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order after that brief news adjournment. This meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here, because we need it. We've got the Democrat Party, the academia as a whole, bureaucrats at all levels of government, the media, nonprofit, people who run nonprofits and NGOs, all telling us blatant, bald-faced lies of regarding the way things are. Oh, yeah, and then there's the billionaires like Soros and Singham and the Arabella Group funding all of this insanity. David Harris, follow him on Instagram, and every day he'll have a picture of someone who was killed or maimed or raped or whatever by an illegal alien, many of them children, pointing out that this is what this scum in places like New Jersey are protesting violently, threatening people. There's a true mental illness that guides today's Democrat Party. Oh, yeah, and there's evil with cherry on top. That's the cherry on top. These policies don't make any sense. They don't work anywhere. There is nothing in history. You take a clown like Mamdani in New York City, or any Paige Cognetti's policies. There's nothing in history that justifies trying it again. Complete failure. Insane. All right. It's Monday. Well, we know what that means. It means John Perillo's with us, and it's time for Monday Musings. John, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Bob. How are you?
I'm great.
All right.
Always in a bit of a lather when I get started thinking about this stuff.
The only issue is which lather you're going to be in. So now I've learned to understand
as long as the lather's justifiable, I don't feel badly about it.
Well, there you go. There you go. And in our as Bob's sanctuary for sanity here, I thought we'd really touch on something that was a very interesting bit by Pope Leo. He wrote an encyclical that touched on many, many issues, especially life issues and AI. And I wanted to explore some of the ideas on the second one, AI, today. And full disclosure, I'm a Catholic, but even if you aren't, or even if you aren't religious at all, I think what he said was important because the Pope is a very smart guy who has a deep understanding of morals and human condition, no matter, and those things apply to you no matter what your beliefs are. And I think first we should understand what an encyclical actually is. And all it is a letter to the entire church that addresses some issue of faith or moral, something that the Pope would like us to consider. And it's his personal thoughts. And it comes from the tradition of Paul's letters called epistles in the New Testament, and Paul's successor bishops who continued that practice. The encyclical was not an essay covering, everything you needed to know about AI. What it discusses instead was what it means to be human in the eyes of God in a world where AI exists. And as listeners here know, one of my favorite Hebrew lessons about humans and technology is the Old Testament story of the Tower of Babel. And in that story from the book of Genesis, the people of Babylonia get together to build a towering city designed to reach the heavens. And the tower that the people are building isn't bad in itself. It's the reason for the tower that is bad, the desire to reach the heavens, not for knowledge of God, but for human glory. But God confuses language, which causes the tower project to fail and scatters the entire population of the world into tribes. And if we take that story and we say it in today's language, God, deters the creation of a new technology, the tower, because in it, man aspires to the divine power and glory, both of which deny the reality of God and the flawed nature of man. The technology, if you will, isn't bad. It's the motivation of the people building it that's wrong. Now, most of the press wants to say that Pope Leo's letter was an attack on technology, but it absolutely was not that. In fact, he opens the section on AI with the good he hopes that it can bring. His encyclical is named Magnifica Humanitas, or Magnificent Humanity, because his concern is not with technology itself, but rather the defense of humanity against those who don't see our shared nature as flawed humans. And then he goes on to discuss the dangers of outsourcing human capabilities to computers. And in discussing that danger, he talks less about AI and more about what makes us human. And the Pope winds up not just defending human goodness, but more importantly and more interesting to me, is certainly our human imperfections. And if anything, his key insight is that what makes humans truly magnificent is our limitations, not our limitlessness. And the idea that human dignity is not tied to human perfection or economic value certainly isn't new ground for the church or religion, right? Now, that's not the same thing as denigrating human productivity, but it does mean that wealth or power do not define our dignity. Mm-hmm. That goes back to the Hebrew concept of all men being created in the image and likeness of the Creator, something that our founders channeled in the phrase, all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Those are all part of the same thought. And just like the Industrial Revolution raised some questions about how to value individual humans, AI raises some of the same questions. Back to imperfection. Let me quote the Pope here because he says, quote, finitude, which means having bounds, not being infinite like God, when truly accepted, does not diminish us, but opens us to recognizing the face of God and others. And he goes on, quote, indeed, precisely because we experience limits, vulnerability, suffering, and failure, we can recognize the inviolable dignity of every person, both our own and that of others, end quote. Well, what a great line. Mm-hmm. And here he takes us back to the most severe of sins, that of pride. The idea that if we think better of ourselves than others, we block the ability to see our own faults, of course, but we also block our ability to see the humanity in others. And that imperfection and our acknowledgement of our imperfection is essential for us to have humility and compassion. Because of that key insight, we have to realize that we cannot outsource our reason or our compassion to a machine without either humility or compassion. And it's not a big moral leap to go from this or that person is imperfect to this or that person has no worth. And you hear this about, when people talk about either overpopulation or the kids that Bob highlighted from ARC. There were wonderful young men and women, and there are a bunch of smart people out there advocating for turning over much of human decision-making to what's called superintelligent AI. Now, I do want here to give some credit to Anthropic co-founder Chris Olah, who wrote a wonderful response to the encyclical, which you can find online, and he absolutely acknowledges what he knows and what he does not know. It was very humble. It was really very well written. Mm-hmm. But back to human limitations for a second. It's your and my limitations, our imperfections that enable us to be compassionate, because we can relate to the other person's imperfections, even if they are different than ours. And if you read any good book, for instance, they acknowledge the flaws of the hero, and it's in that reflection, if the author does it right, that brings us in. If the hero is perfect, we can't relate. Perfection is, in the end, inhuman and unattainable, and it's not even desirable. The Pope points out that the, quote, pretension of perfection, end quote, that makes AI so dangerous. We are seeing AI make hiring decisions or target objectives in warfare. And if we allow a machine to do those things, then our ability to understand and think through moral problems atrophies. And I want you to hang with me a bit for this thought. Now, remember your childhood or how we as parents force our children to make small moral judgments, things that there's no clear right or wrong about things like friendships or sharing and the like, because it trains the mind to make larger and more difficult ones as we get older. And part of why a computer screen time is so dangerous is that it substitutes a computer's easy yes or no answer in a video game, for instance, for the complexity of real life. The computer game, is nowhere near as complex as having to pick sides in a street game of stickball, and deal with the friend that you have who's a good guy but can't connect with a rubber ball if his life depends on it. Right? A phone game can't simulate how to deal with the kid that you don't want to leave alone on the school bus, but who you also know will talk your ear off if you sit next to them, right? But it's those decisions that make us human, and making them when we're children trains us to be compassionate adults. It is, back to some of the earliest Monday musings, the difference between knowledge and wisdom. The Pope does not say we shouldn't use AI. In fact, he mentions some specific goods that he thinks can come out of it. His point is that we shouldn't consider AI as anything more than it is. It's just a technology. Like the technology that the Hebrews wrote about 6,000 years ago, because they thought about everything, that they thought that technology would make the people of Babel closer to God. It offers us knowledge and glory, but at the expense of human uniqueness by enforcing homogeneity, uniformity, if you will, and efficiency. What the Pope is telling us is that we aren't computers. We shouldn't aspire to be computers or to be ruled by computers or to spend too much time with computers or the screens on our phones. Right? We should seek human dignity, not digital manipulation. That we should, to quote the Pope, who, by the way, was quoting Tolkien's Gandalf, cultivate our own gardens. At the end, perfection doesn't enable love. And our obsession with perfection in ourselves or in our partners, either physically or how we view ourselves, is dangerous, that pursuit of perfection. To love is to love the good in a person, obviously, but maybe more importantly, to be compassionate towards their faults. And I know your listeners will find it hard to believe, but I'm not always perfect. And I don't look like I did when I met my wife, nearly 45 years ago, which makes my wife sticking with me, the very definition of human compassion. Relationships are about the beauty
and she,
of
by the way,
imperfection.
she looks the same.
she does. I'm talking about her here, right?
Yeah.
And relationships are about the beauty of imperfection. And we just celebrated Good Friday and Easter Sunday, which, if you want to distill them to their essence, is God loving us passionately despite all of our faults. That's why human love is the tiniest taste of divine love, right? Your Alexa or AI chatbot might always say exactly what you want to hear, especially when you want to hear it. It might make you feel really good when it does so, but I guarantee you that it cannot love you back. It's the feeling without the reality. And that, listeners, is the very definition of pornography. And an obsession with that makes real human interaction almost impossible. Like I said, the encyclical is not about AI. It's about who we are. And this is and this is just the highest overview of one aspect of that encyclical. But I promise you, if you have any questions, please call the show and Bob, and I promise that we'll address them for you, because I thought it's just a fascinating piece. And if you have a chance, you should find it and you should read it yourselves.
All right, my man. John Perillo, Monday Musings, encyclical of a pope who I often disagree with, but I find him pretty close to the mark on this one. And
yes, sir.
John, it's universal and enduring truths.
Yes,
when we
sir.
stay in
Absolutely.
that area, everything can relate from the Tower of Babel to today's AI.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob, for bringing that up. You're exactly right. And to you and your listeners, I hope you guys have a great week. And I look forward to meeting with you again next week.
All right. My man, John Perillo, Monday Musings. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, this day, as with every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. He's got so many great companies, but on Mondays, we honor his first and his biggest company, Eastern Roofing Systems. Headquartered in Jessup, they are the premier and one of the largest roofing contractors for institutional, industrial, and commercial projects throughout the eastern United States. And they take that expertise, that buying power, and they bring it to you here in Northeast Pennsylvania for your project or even your own home. Eastern Roofing Systems. Eddie Johnston III. We lost him May 8th. He was living in Glenburn, formerly from Mantua Township, New Jersey. His family says he failed in his quest for immortality at the ripe old age of 78 years from multiple cancers caused by Agent Orange exposure in Vietnam. A proud member of the Falls Lions Club, the American Legion in Scranton, Vice Commander of the CB Island 4, the past commander of the Mantua VFW post, past New Jersey District 13 commander. He retired from driving a truck at E.P. Henry in Woodbury, New Jersey, and moved to PA, where he found joy driving a school bus for DiGilio Services. He leaves behind his loving wife and companion of over 50 years, Mary Claire Mimi Johnston, his fiercely devoted daughter, Nancy Weinhardt, his best pal and grandson, Scott Weinhardt, along with his loving wife, Jennifer, 2 great-grandsons, 3 surviving siblings, and the family passes on a special thank you to neighbors for their support and friendship during such a difficult time. Eddie Johnston. Florence John Jack Donahue. I knew Jack. He passed at age 82 on May 12th. He was from Scranton. He shared 31 wonderful years of marriage with the love of his life, Elaine Fortiani Donahue. Born in West Hazelton, a graduate of St. Gabriel's High School in Hazelton, he went on to join the U.S. Air Force, where he served 5 years active duty, most of that time at Laughlin Air Force Base, Texas. After active duty, he graduated from Penn State with a degree in business and finance. He worked for Allied Chemical in Baltimore for years before moving to Scranton, where he was employed at the State Unemployment Office for 30 years until retirement. After that retirement, Jack went to work at Moses Taylor Hospital in Scranton for 16 years as a transporter, where he loved talking and joking with patients and staff. He was a joy. In addition to his wife, he's survived by his son, stepdaughters, 8 grandchildren, including a soon-to-be-born baby girl, preceded in death, tragically, by his son, Timothy. Jack Donahue. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. AccuWeather forecast. Brought to you by the gang at Montage, where they're swinging into summer. Today, mostly sunny with a stray shower this afternoon, high 77. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 48. Tomorrow, pleasant with intervals of clouds and sunshine, 75 for the high, 48 for the low on Tuesday. Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy, high 82, low 53. Thursday, sunny to partly cloudy and very warm, high 88, low 57. Friday, sunny to partly cloudy, very warm, high 87, low 60. Oh, sounds like a great week, huh? I'm going to get Big Lou washed because it sounds like we could avoid the whole package, and I could wash them and not worried about the rain. That's your weather. Brought to you by the great gang at Montage. Don't forget about that great water park. Fun all summer and right here, right underneath your feet. The Beatles, they did overdubs, Murph tells us, for their hit Yellow Submarine at Abbey Road Studios, London, England, this date, 1966. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. Somebody texted in, and I saw this interview. There's a person who tries to pretend he's normal, and that is Chris Coons from Delaware. He is the worst of all of them. He's got this fake moderate, but he's insane. And as somebody texted in, literally said, and this is the new line from the sick Democrat Party, that Iran is stronger than they were 90 days ago. This is so crazy, so idiotic. Now, again, please remember, this is the same person who says that there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden in terms of his mental capacity and said it all the time, constantly. Now he dodges when he gets asked. He's a disgrace. What is in the water in Delaware to produce these kind of fiends? I really don't understand it. Cabinet guy texting in, he says, it's funny how so many think Pothole Page is and has done a great job. What stupidity. I agree. Who are they? Who are they? Who thinks she's doing a good job? Bob LTS, Bernie Sanders complained about billionaires. Now he's backing Tom Steyer, a billionaire who's running for governor of California because of Steyer's insane left-wing policies and how they match up with Bernie Sanders, that old fool. Steyer's policies are all insane left-wing and will further destroy California as we know it. You're 100% right. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Somebody texted in. This is something I want to talk about. Bob, I've been listening to your show for the past hour, and you have not allowed one phone call. I appreciate the veterans tributes, but some of the other things should be abbreviated or scattered throughout your program. Please don't lose sight that you are known for your talk radio where you allow perspectives from opposing points of view. I'm finding more and more there's less than that. And that is your strength. Please consider this. I always consider it. But they've got to either call or text in. Believe me, I'm not denying any left-wingers, any Democrat supporters. I'm not denying anybody their opportunity to have their say here. In fact, it gives me the opportunity to point out the insanity. So I look forward to it, and I'll continue to look forward to it. No, there's just so you know, we are not denying. In fact, we don't put people on who agree with me a lot or that much or as much as we could because they agree with me. No, there is always an opportunity here for someone who wants to defend this nonsense. Brother Mike points out, by the way, that, and I remember this, and there was something that our mother at bath time when we were little kids, at bath time would play Yellow Submarine. Now, the one I remember is Puff the Magic Dragon also. But, okay. But no, I'm telling you, anyone with opposing views, they're never denied the opportunity to speak. They are denied the opportunity to lie. And maybe that's why they're so tepid or they just text. But people can call or text here. And if there's an opportunity, they get on. And they get on more than the people who agree with me. So you know. But, hey, if they don't call, they don't text, I can't bring out what they're saying. And maybe, by the way, that's good because maybe we're convincing some of them that their party has gone insane. Very important that they get it. And it's obvious and it's blatant and patent. By the way, somebody texted, I must have called Cutie a whirling dervish last week. And you know, here's what the whirling dervishes were. All right, it was an Islamic order, and among their rituals is they would spin in an almost trance-like dance. And I did have to look this up. It's called the Sema or Sema, the dance. But they would literally dance in circles until collapse almost. And that's what a whirling dervish is. I related to other things, but yeah, they said they don't. Warn me when you're going to call Cutie a whirling dervish, because then I've got to be prepared to fall down laughing. All right, we've got to take a break here. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be right back. This is David Bowie. His first self-titled album, Murph tells us, released this date, 1967. His hit song was Love You Till Tuesday. I had never heard that before. How about that? Bob Cordaro back with you as we head towards the Bloomberg Money Minute. Our great friend of the show, Jim Walsh, had sent this in, and it's rather long, but I'll try to get it. The moving wall is coming to the great Bloomsburg American Legion post. And also the Berwick VFW. And then around the town, June 5th through June 7th. So that's this week. Please remember this. It's a half-size replica of the D.C. Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which I've seen several times, and just it is, I don't know, it just stuns you into silence. And it was controversial in its design and all that. But here's the chance for you to see it. Bloomsburg American Legion, Bloomsburg Elks, the Berwick VFW, June 5th through June 7th. And I urge you to do it. They've replicated all 58,000 plus names, 74 separate panels. You got to see it. It's part of the 250th of our great country. But Jim, call in about that. There's a lot of activities surrounding it at the Elks and the Berwick VFW and all that. So really check it out. Find out more about it. My Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:50 on the nose. Bloomberg Money Minute. Murph tells us on this date, 1969, John Lennon recorded his hit, Give Peace a Chance, in a room at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal, Canada. Bob Cordaro back with you. And, of course, the founding of CNN as an actual news agency. We sadly had to announce the death of Ted Turner just within the last couple of weeks on this program. Who founded it, and they came out normal. And slowly, I don't know if it had anything to do with Ted getting with goofy Jane Fonda, but it morphed into something that was no longer a news organization. It was they thought they were an advocacy group for left-wing lunacy. And they suck to this day, even with the new owners. Because the new owners don't want to catch all kinds of spit for changing things too radically, too quickly. But it's failing because of it. And we're hoping the new owners just say, okay, can somebody go back to straight news and let's just see how it works out? Maybe people will actually listen. But they've really got a clean house to do that. Because you had these fools, like I was getting a kick out of, and I don't know if we're going to get to play it today. Victor Davis Hanson commenting on, David Letterman, I guess, came on the last show of that clown who got canceled because he was losing $40 million a year, who they endured because Colbert was a left-wing lunatic. So they endured him because he was a lefty, and insanely so, because he had Trump derangement syndrome and constantly professed it. He saved his job despite losing CBS all this money. And he and Letterman, they're acting like they're some sort of free speech crusaders. No, you suck at what you do. No one wants to watch. The network, you lost millions, tens of millions of dollars for the network every year, Stephen Colbert, because you suck. And you want to blame CBS for finally pulling the plug. And the only thing that saved you from them pulling the plug was they didn't want to hear from the lefties inside and outside of their organization. Somebody texted regarding the Lennon song, and this is so true. You can give peace a chance, and I'll cover you when it doesn't work out. Yeah, I know. By the way, our great listener said, Bob, perhaps I was unclear in my text. They just want more phone calls. Well, the people have to call. And we love our regular callers, but you have to understand in talk radio, if you get better than 1 in 10,000 listeners to call, you've got something. But that's what happens. People they're content to listen. They're doing other things. And we try to get people on as fast as we can. But no, there's no calls very few calls we don't accept. I mean, if we've heard from somebody 5 days in a row, maybe not. But other than that, we love to put them on. But you have to understand, even with the massive size of this audience, only so many are going to call in, which is why we have the text option, because you sort of, you could text it, and it doesn't matter if you're listening. I try to get to it. And it's the same number, 570-883-0098. So, no, we are not limiting phone calls. And maybe you should call in. But now, if you don't call in, you sort of know why everybody else doesn't. That's why it's not a caller-driven show. It's an idea-driven show. Even more so than news, by the way. But we're also driven by the clock. And my Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11 o'clock and change. So we've got to go to the news with Brian Hughes, and then we'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. It is 11:07 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Monday, June 1st, here in the great Northeast, the year of our Lord 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Eastern Roofing Systems, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like Jack Donahue, Scranton, Eddie Johnston, Glenburn, formerly of Jersey, Benjamin Coker, he was from Clark Summit, Daniel Capwell, Taylor, Dana Nelson, Scranton, and Robert Herman, Kingston. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order, this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, after a brief news adjournment, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all who hearken here. You got, no, Cabinet Guy thinks some callers were banned. I had one Dave from Kingston. It was so useless. And he's not actually banned. But I couldn't take it anymore. It was just like this nonsense drivel programmed from the left that he would get sent, and I know he's getting paid to come on. And I was like, I'm not interested. It doesn't bring any light to any issue. But other than him, whoever calls, I do it. Believe me, don't worry about that. We're not concerned about our positions, period. Bob LTS, James Carville was on your old buddy Michael Smarkanish's show and says he and Bruce Springsteen have TDS. Carville says he wears it with a badge of honor, is consumed by TDS, and wants more on a daily basis. Keeps him alive and motivated, apparently. Carville is Biden without dementia. I disagree. He's got dementia. He says he does not have a clue about the real issue of America. Carville is all about... Carville is, he's a dumb goofball. I'm sorry. Likeable, fun, all that. No problem. Great guy to hang around with. Had the pleasure of hanging around with him a couple times. Great guy. Enjoyable. Self-deprecating. All that. But as he gets older, he goes more insane. And by the way, for him, it was never anything about policy. It was about the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party. The party. And nothing to do with what's good for the country. It was never, by the way, you'll never hear that from his lips. It's all about winning and obtaining power and using that power to enforce your agenda on other people. That's his entire focus. Never anything, and I want you to listen to him, never anything about what's best for the American people. So he's basically useless. Somebody texts in, Trump believed that the Iranian regime would collapse within a few days of the bombing. I disagree with you. He knew that was going to be a longer slog. He said outright, and I also heard, I think it was Coons, but one of the idiot Democrat senators saying that Trump, if he didn't go in there with regime change and publicly stating regime change, we would have had less problems. He never said it. He said the exact opposite. Regime change was a responsibility of the Iranian people, not of our military. Anyway, the listener continued, when that didn't happen and the regime only became more emboldened, well, that I don't see. They're not emboldened. They're just as ridiculous as they were. I don't think anybody had any sense that these people, and think about it in any, just human nature, never mind evil humans and an evil regime, nobody was going to step down. They've seen what's happened to dictators, whether it's Mussolini, Gaddafi. They know what happens to them. They've got to hang on to power with every bit because it is their very existence. Nobody thought, no serious thinker thought that this regime was going to collapse quickly. And I never heard that out of the White House or Donald Trump. Never. That's important to note, and I'm happy you sent that. Somebody says we shouldn't have ripped up the JCPOA. That's the Iran nuclear deal. Well, that's idiotic, frankly. The JCPOA is what allowed them to continue developing nuclear weapon technology, and then the idiocy, we gave them the money which they used to push the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas and provide them with resources to attack Americans and their allies and to destabilize the Middle East. That JCPOA was one of the dumbest agreements ever. Idiotic. And it accelerated their ballistic missile development. No, the Obama agreement was idiotic. It was based on a level of naivete that's incomprehensible. And by the way, they had the perfect template. The deal that Clinton made with the North Koreans. It actually spurred their nuclear development because they took whatever resources we gave them, didn't feed their people, but developed nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. And that's exactly what Iran did. Like, pretending that they're not evil and sick and twisted and bent on starting their own version of the apocalypse. That's who they are. That's what they'll tell you. The JCPOA was the most idiotic agreement, the most naive, and the most detrimental to the peace in the Middle East and the United States interests that I've ever seen. Truly was. Somebody texts in, do you support sending $300 billion to Iran for reparations and rebuilding as per the leaked U.S. draft? No. Not at all. You know what they're going to use the money for. You know what they're going to do. Oh, okay, and that's a continuous. Sounds a lot worse than the Obama's deal. Maybe we shouldn't have ripped up the JCPOA. So you've heard my thoughts on the JCPOA. It's like, okay, I'll make the agreement with the devil. And believe me, they're devil-driven. I'll make an agreement with the devil, and I'm pretty sure he'll keep up his end of the bargain. Well, that's insane. That's sweeping a problem under a rug and ignoring reality, which Obama administration was really good at. They're really good at it now. They keep commenting, and they've got tons of outlets. No, that was a horrible agreement. It actually got us here to where Trump had to do something now. Because their ballistic missile program, their drone program, had become so substantial and was growing monthly that we would have had a harder and harder and harder time, and maybe an impossible time, but certainly much more loss of life when we did what we had to do to this enemy of the world, not just America. So no, I'm disagreeing with you completely. The JCPOA was insane. Absolutely insane. The listener says, that's a lie, Bob. After JCPOA, their nuclear enrichment accelerated, and they were relieved of inspections from other countries. You're a disgrace. Well, you just made my point, unless you're doing talk to text and you mess it up. Oh, the JCPOA destroyed their nuclear enrichment. It did not. See, if you want to live in an insane-o world, you live there. But don't take the rest of us with you the way the Democrat Party has done. Don't pull the cover over your head and hope that the monster will go away. That's what the JCPOA was. Giving them money and ending their oil embargo was pure insanity. $16 billion released by the Biden administration and $180 to $200 billion in oil revenues allowed by the Biden administration. That's on top of the JCPOA and the $1.4 billion in cash we flew over there, which all went to terrorists, both inside and outside of Iran. Like, you really, I'm telling you, I don't know how people don't accept reality because they've got they've got some sort of, they got to defend idiocy by Biden and Obama. I don't get it. Why? What is the point? What are you doing that you will divorce yourself from that which is true and obvious? Saying that the JCPOA helped the world when it's clearly the opposite is the truth. It's just, I don't, oh man. That's, it's sad. It's absolutely sad. Crazy stuff. Guys, look, I feel for you. And by the way, feel free to call about these insane opinions you hold. Feel free, but you're not going to lie on the air. You're like, I'm not having Senator Coons or Senator Murphy on the air. They're insane people. They're mentally ill. They are degenerate liars. And they just switch their lie to fit the occasion. That's the leadership of the Democrat Party. That's Paige Cognetti. That's Governor Shapiro. What helps me more right now, because you know what? The media will never call me on it. Crazy stuff. Sad. I feel for you. You're mentally ill. You are. You're calling me a liar and a disgrace. How so? See, they can't even bring up any facts, and they're afraid to call. So when you say, why don't we take a lot of calls? Well, we don't get a lot of calls from those people because their idiocy would be exposed. And they don't want that. And I'm not going to listen to lies. I'm not going to listen to nonsense. You don't get a pass to be an idiot by calling in. So, in any event, yeah, we've never been to a place, and I'll guarantee you're anti-ICE as well. Like, you're defending literal murderers and pedophiles and criminals and thugs in the name of community. Like, again, everything's ass backwards. Everything's upside down with these people. This is craziness. We can't abide it. We cannot abide it. Let's take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, 103.1 FM, 910 AM, 980 AM. We'll be back. Yeah, some of the moves, obviously anti-capitalist, but actually necessary. But they've done 100% the right way and all that, meaning taking over GM, financing the auto industry. You couldn't have it collapse because it's not something that could be rebuilt quickly. And General Motors is still a decent company. But they went bankrupt this date, 2009. There was a panic mentality in the country. People forget that when those investment banks, foolish investment banks, started to collapse from their excess, which, by the way, was encouraged by the government. Isn't it? The irony is the government got involved in so many portions of the economy that they made the economy fail, and then they were the only entity large enough to save it. Isn't that amazing? And by the way, this is rinse and repeat for those believers in government, and they are all not in the Democrat Party, by the way. Crazy stuff. I go back to this contention. It's absolutely crazy that they're pushing what the Democrat Party is pushing, essentially lawlessness, unchecked government benefits. Who cares about the fraud? And incredible levels of spending that never reaches, whether it's USAID or the federal government or our state governments, that never reaches the people they claim they're trying to help. It's astonishing where they got to. And they try to use, even though the money doesn't help, like look at the homeless situation in California as a perfect example. Tens of billions of dollars, and the problem has increased. And so that justifies their reason for more. Look at our education system. New York City, $44,000 a student. And results keep declining dramatically. You get rid of the education department and say, oh my God, you're against education. Well, since the education department has existed, the federal education department, oh, by the way, the state education departments ain't helping either. Since this bureaucracy existed, our educational system, by any measurement, has declined rapidly. So please tell me, where's the compassion here? Where's the common sense? Well, they don't exist. The compassion is for people who are making money off the system as it is. And don't let them fool you. Quite amazing. Yeah, one of the trolls has lost their mind. Their positions are pure idiocy about this Iran. It's quite scary that they fall for this. And that I don't get it. Why do they defend? Because they hate Trump so much, they'll look for any factoid to support their argument. I'm not understanding it. I really can't. I can't get there. You look for any factoid to support the Democrat Party. I don't understand it. Why don't you just take it, use some common sense, and take over the Democrat Party with some level of common sense instead of evil and insanity, which currently runs that party. And straight out denial of fact, truth, and reality. Yeah, the JPTOA really helped put Iran in a box. Oh, my God. They accelerated all of their activities with the money we allowed them to have. That's terrorism, ballistic missile development, and they never slowed down because there was no meaningful inspection regime to the JTPC, whatever the hell, the idiot Iran deal that Biden negotiated. It's crazy. And they'll still defend it because they hate Trump for ripping it up. Well, they hate Trump so much, and ripping it up offended them because they wanted to live their lie. I don't understand why you want to do it. Somebody texts in to reiterate, to get it through these people who can't see the forest through the trees. There are 3 American citizens, including an infant, dead in Modesto, California last week because an illegal alien criminal with 3 deportation orders was allowed to roam the streets because the police there will not cooperate with ICE. They're a sanctuary city and state. A mother, a grandmother, and an infant brutally murdered. Stuff that in your Epstein file and smoke it. You're right. And they defend it. And they attack ICE for doing their job to keep us safe. This is crazy. And they continue. That's the pathology I just can't understand. That you'll do anything to hold your position even when the facts, the truth, and reality don't support it. There's something wrong there. There's really something wrong. And if you're still supporting the Democrat Party and their sickness, you really got to check yourself. It's scary. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. Let's hear from our great sponsors. We will then do a Veterans Tribute, the weather, and more. You can call or text 570-883-0098. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, this day, as with every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. Featuring on Mondays, as we always do, Eastern Roofing Systems, John's first company and his biggest. Headquartered in Jessup, they are the premier roofing contractor in the eastern United States. Commercial, industrial, institutional. And they take that expertise And, well, I can't say within the sound of my voice because people are listening all over the country. But if you're in Northeast Pennsylvania, they can get the job done for you with all they know and all that buying power for your home, for your project in Northeast PA. They're the best. Eastern Roofing Systems. Robert Herman, he was from Kingston. We lost him May 12th. He passed after a lengthy illness with his wife Nancy by his side. Born in Nanticoke, graduate of Nanticoke High School, class of 55. Upon graduation, Bob enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, where he admirably served. He enrolled at Wilkes College, 59 to 63. And in his senior year, he was named Athlete of the Year. Upon graduation, he embarked on the start of a decades-long teaching and coaching career, starting at Westside Central Catholic High School, Kingston. With the formation of the Wyoming Valley West School District, Bob accepted a teaching position and became the head wrestling coach, where he received many accolades. He also acquired 2 master's degrees in counseling from Marywood and Scranton. At the completion of his coaching career, Bob was inducted into the Pennsylvania Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Wilkes University Hall of Fame, and the Luzerne County Sports Hall of Fame. He became a PIAA official in football and wrestling. We need more of them. He was certified as a drug and alcohol counselor. He trained dogs, including for AKC champions. He also became a bus driver for the Luzerne County Head Start program. Surviving his wife, the former Nancy Sharp, his daughters, a grandson, nephews, and nieces, and other family members. Robert Herman. Dana Nelson, we lost him at just the age of 61, May 9th. He was from Scranton. He had a courageous health battle, having received a double lung transplant in 2019. He and his loving wife, the former Donna Sierra, shared 24 wonderful years of marriage. Dana grew up in Fontana, California. He came from a family with a history of military service. He joined the United States Marine Corps immediately after graduating from Fontana High School. He loved his country and proudly served for 8 years, including being stationed in Bahrain during Operation Desert Storm. He had a number of jobs after honorable discharge, but he retired from Lockheed Martin, where he was an electronics inspector. He loved to cook, and he was good at it. His Christmas prime rib was something the family looked forward to every year. He enjoyed trains, both big and small. He most recently worked on his N-scale train layout. He also learned woodworking from his father. Fishing at the family's cottage at Lake Sheridan in the early morning with a cup of coffee was his happy place in the summer. Dana is survived by his daughter, his grandchildren, siblings, and other family members. Dana Nelson. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. AccuWeather forecast. Today, mostly sunny with a stray shower this afternoon, high 77. It is 68 at Montage Mountain now, who they're bringing the weather, getting ready for summer this week. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 48. Tomorrow, pleasant with intervals of clouds and sunshine, high 75, low 48. Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy, 82 degrees, low 53. Thursday, sunny to partly cloudy, very warm, 88 degrees. Love it. Low 57. Friday, sunny to partly cloudy and very warm, high 87, low 60. And that's the weather deal brought to you by our great friends at Montage Mountain. That water park and all the summer fun is starting right now up in the mountain. Biden banner disgrace, day 169. The disgraceful Green Ridge Neighborhood Association, and that's all we could call them, put up a banner to Joe Biden under the hometown hero moniker intended for veterans when Joe Biden dodged service repeatedly in his youth. Even after finding out that Joe Biden, a Green Ridge native, had never served, they refused to take the banner down. We're at 169 now. So it's not only a disgrace to be associated with Joe Biden, but the Green Ridge Neighborhood Association doesn't even care that they're wrong. How sad are they? The Green Ridge Neighborhood Association, stolen valor, the Biden banner disgrace, day 169. Well, when we think of something as disgraceful as the Green Ridge Neighborhood Association and their leadership, and those 10 who voted to keep it, the banner up, we got to go to something great, and that's Mother Teresa, St. Teresa, for June 1st. She says, one man told me, I am an atheist, but he spoke so beautifully about love. Mother told me, you cannot be an atheist if you speak so beautifully about love. Where there is love, there is God. God is love. Yeah, maybe not so good of an atheist. That's St. Teresa, Mother Teresa for today. And God bless her. So we've got to deal with insanity. We obviously, and they just keep coming. By the way, Cheryl from Jenkins Township texted in. She said, just heard a commercial explaining Obama's dealings with General Motors and how they got tens of billions in the past to help them sort out. And now they're going to get rid of 20,000 jobs so they can get more profit. And then the government's going to give them another $30 billion. Are you serious? No, by the way, I'm not aware of the other $30 billion the government's going to give them. But anyway, are you serious? Why don't the people ever get bailouts from their debt like these big corporations do? Can you explain that part of it to me? I would really appreciate it, says Cheryl from Jenkins Township. Cheryl, here's the story. The country was in a panic. The financial markets had seized up, which is necessary to run a huge company like General Motors and many others, by the way. You've got to remember this. Fast forward 20 years, almost 20 years from that time, we had to save the infrastructure of the auto industry. The problem was that the Obama administration was then in charge, and they used it for their ideological and political purposes. So it was not nearly as effective as it should have been, but it was necessary. So how it was administered was weak. Now, you've also got to remember the mandates that the government put on them, the Democrat Party, to produce battery-powered cars. They were losing tens of billions of dollars on battery-powered cars that the government was forcing them to produce that nobody wanted, that weren't good for the environment. So the government getting involved in anything simply leads to more problems. And I've got to tell you, they're not great, but they're so much better than the Democrat Party of today. You got to elect Republicans who at least have many of their people, elected officials and other, have actual business experience. So did we always do the right thing? We did what we had to do as a government back in the late 2000s, 8, 9, in there. But they did it with an ideological bent, and then they went to their next project, battery-powered cars, which caused these companies to lose billions more. They forced it on them. If Trump had not won, battery-powered cars financed by the government, your tax dollars, would have become the norm. So, I don't know. As they reduce production of battery-powered cars which weren't selling, there are layoffs involved. I know. It ain't pretty. It's what is. All right, we got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. There's not enough time to go through all of it, Cheryl, but thank you for asking. I appreciate it. We'll be back. Like that song. 1992, June 1st, the Black Crowes had the number one hit in the country with Remedy. Bob Cordaro back with you. We're going to finish today with Paul McCartney and Wings. They released their hit Live and Let Die, which was used for the James Bond theme back on June 1st, 1973. My man Gerald Z. Lets us, he's also T, but Gerald Z. They're tearing up the Weston Field grass. We don't know what they're doing. They've gotten rid of the baseball field, I guess, in favor of soccer. More kids are playing soccer. There's nothing you can do about that because it's safer. I mean, that tells us something about the parenting, I hate to say. They don't want their kids to get hurt. And they feel like they're protected when they play soccer, and soccer is becoming more popular as a result over generations. So, in any event. Somebody said, Bob, where is that Joe Biden banner? It's on North Washington Avenue, past almost near the end, where you get to part of Marywood's playing fields and so forth. And as you're going towards downtown, it's on your left. As you're going towards the end of North Washington Avenue, it's on your right. They said, I want to give it my salute. Yes, I'm with you. So, Bob, why won't you take calls? Look at some people can't hold as we get through work and others can't, but it's been very light calls today. I didn't get to a few of them and people that were being patient, but they're not here now. Believe me, I don't avoid phone calls. I really don't, just so you know. I mentioned we're on 103.1 FM. We're on 910 AM, 980 AM. We're also available on WILKNewsRadio.com, the Odyssey app, AUDACY. And we're also available on YouTube, just this show. Live streaming, 9 to noon. You go WILKNewsRadio.com, or actually WILK News Radio Bob Cordaro Show, and you'll find past editions as well as today's edition, the live edition that we're in the midst of now. And we remind you about our dear friend Tina Morocco, who we heard in our first hour, global sales advisor at Sotheby's International, Naples, Florida, their international realty. She's your trusted guide for Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com. Or on any social media, you look up Tina Morocco, you'll find her. And I'm telling you, people from Northeast Pennsylvania, they've gotten great results with her. Absolutely great results with her for their Florida real estate sojourns. They really have. She's the best. I wouldn't be talking about her otherwise. So as we head to the top of the hour on this Monday, I've got one of my grandchildren graduating, getting ready for kindergarten, but she's graduating from the daycare center. I call it baby school, and she constantly corrects me. So something fun to look forward to later this afternoon. And, yeah, it'll be a blast. It will be a blast seeing them and hanging around with them because it's been too long. You know, even though you live at home, you don't get as much time with them as you want. That's for sure. But that's what we'll be doing this afternoon. The Sue Henry Show follows this program. The Rob O'Donnell Show follows that. And Rob was at Regnacci's with Mr. Paul on Saturday night. And Murph, of course. Murph is the stalwart up at Rags's. But I missed them. We had great parties to go to. My friend, one of my best friends, 21st birthday party for his son, and it was great. And then our man Dominic Morocco's 50th, which was also great. Tina Morocco's husband. So have a great afternoon, guys. But no matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter what I think, I've got to bring this meeting of the Club for Common Sense to a close because my Picardo Jewelers watch tells me that it's noon on the nose. Have a great afternoon, but we are adjourned.